guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a retro review plus on-feet video of the 2002 Adidas Predator Mania. This is what many people consider to be the best Predator of all time, and what a lot of people consider to be one of the best shoes ever, period. It really is an iconic boot from Adidas that a lot of people miss, a lot of people hold in high regard, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a detailed look at the shoe, pretty much a complete overview. So if you're interested in learning more about the Predator Mania, or perhaps just want to relive what it had to offer, please stick around and watch the entire video. Please keep in mind, guys, if you do enjoy the retro review series on my channel, a lot of these shoes are very difficult to come by, especially in brand new condition and in my size, so I can do the on-feet portion. So when I do come across a pair, they can be very, very expensive, and trust me, these were pretty pricey. So if you guys do enjoy the retro review series on my channel, want to continue seeing it happen, be sure to support this video with a like. That would be greatly appreciated. And with that being said, let's get right into my retro review of the Predator Mania. Alright, so for those who are interested, this is the original box that the Predator Manias actually came in. You can see it's got a red lid, a black bottom. On the lid, you're going to find the Adidas logo as well as the 2002 World Cup logo, which is pretty cool. Remove the lid, and on the inside, they of course include the shoes and a couple of extras. I do have the original paperwork that came with the Predator Manias. Unfortunately, I am missing the actual stud wrench, or essentially flathead screwdriver, that would have come with the Soft Ground Mania. I just don't have those, but you guys can get an idea of what it is. Basically, that's a picture of it right there. This little brochure here essentially explains how the Soft Ground studs work, how to care for them, how to tighten them, how to remove them, stuff like that. And you can see the system. It's pretty complicated in comparison to a modern Soft Ground stud where they essentially just screw in, and they're of course a rounded shape. These are bladed, so in order to actually fasten them to the sole plate, you snap them in place. They kind of click into this little extension piece that comes from the bottom of the sole plate, and then of course you screw it in place here with the little cutout there on that drop down piece. So a lot of moving parts, not necessarily the best idea in terms of durability and just longevity, but it does look very cool. And of course you get a bladed Soft Ground stud as opposed to a rounded one. And then of course there's this extra brochure here that just tells you about wear and care instructions. I'll give you guys a look at it. It has it in a bunch of different languages. This is just the page that's in English, so if you want to pause the video and read it, you definitely can. It essentially just tells you that don't wear the Soft Ground studs on anything but soft ground, how to care for the leather, don't put them in the washing machine. Pretty basic instructions. So that's pretty much it as far as what you find inside the box. We'll take these out and we'll take a closer look at what many people believe to be the best Predator model that Adidas ever released. And based on what I've used, I would tend to agree with them. Now, I'm only 22 years old, so I didn't have, I wasn't really at an age where high-end shoes would be something that I would be wearing often when the Predator series was kind of up and coming in its earlier stages, I guess is the best way to put it. I did have a pair of Predator Manias when I was younger. I want to say 12, 13 years old, and when I actually got them, it was a shoe that was on sale. It was a discounted high-end model. It was actually my first high-end shoe that I ever wore. I had them in the white colorway. This is obviously the red colorway, as you guys can see. The white ones, I think, is my personal favorite. It had a white leather upper, a red heel counter, the red tongue, and then of course the black stripes, as well as the black Predator zones or rubberized elements. And mine was the firm ground variation, not the soft ground one that I have right here. But this is what I was able to pick up. Red is definitely an interesting color. You don't see this particular colorway of the Mania all that often. And overall, it's just a good looking shoe in the handful of colorways that Adidas actually released it in. So as far as what this shoe is all about and why people love it so much, one, it's pretty much a full kangaroo leather upper, and the quality of the leather is really, really nice. These are older now, obviously 2002, 13 years ago is when this shoe originally came out, and I think it still holds up really, really well. You have, like I said, kangaroo leather across the entire upper. It's left pretty smooth right here on the lateral side of the shoe. You're going to find the Adidas stripes that are actually rubber that is stitched around the actual leather itself, and it flows into the bottom of the sole where you do have that split sole, so you have the Adidas stripes that continue on there. I remember when I was a kid, I always thought that was the coolest thing, and even up until now, I just think that the split sole, whether or not it's the most effective way of making a soccer shoe, I just think it looks really, really cool. Let me know your opinions on that down below in the comment section, because for me, as a kid, I always knew, oh, that was the cool version of the Predator. I could tell that was the top end model because the stripes would continue on to the bottom. So Again, you have kangaroo leather across the entire upper, aside from where the leather, the little Adidas stripes are, sorry, they're made from rubber. And then of course you have the actual Predator element, the rubberized element, that are essentially these kind of curved fins, I guess is the best way to describe it. They're not particularly aggressive, they're kind of flush with the actual leather upper itself. It will provide, of course, some extra grip on the ball and a slightly more solid type of feel when you make impact in this main strike area of the foot. It looks really good, it flows with the design, and it's just a cool looking shoe overall. I like the stitching pattern. It's not overly complicated, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily look all that traditional. I like that right here on the medial side, you kind of have the Adidas triangle logo with the 3 stripes stitched into the leather upper, which is a nice little extra detail. And then of course you have that famous leather fold over tongue with the elasticated strap, the Adidas logo embroidered there in silver on the top, the elasticated strap that you can wear in the midfoot, which is generally how I used to wear them. But since then, I think I've changed preferences in terms of how I like to wear shoes with the strap. I actually like them to be a little bit further up now. So I think that if I were to wear a pair of Predator Manias now, I would wear the strap something like this as opposed to down the middle of the shoe, just because I like how it looks, not necessarily because it feels any better or is more comfortable. Again, it's really just a matter of preference in terms of looks, at least in my opinion, because the flap tongue, it covers up the laces, yes, but it's not going to have any kind of major impact on performance. It's, for the most part, unnecessary extra bulk. You can see the tongue is entirely made from leather, which is really nice. Lacing system is slightly off-centered, as you guys can see. It does have all loophole lacing, which I'm personally not a big fan of, but it works well on this particular design. You have pretty standard cut in the heel. The heel liner is a smooth synthetic leather material with a decent amount of padding. Comfort is not an issue, as you might expect. I'll give you guys a quick look at the insole here. It's also very, very standard. Mesh liner on top. You can see it does say XTRX soft ground. It says Adidas.com. You have that same 3-stripe pattern that you find on the bottom of the shoe, which is pretty cool. And then it's just a standard single layer of this red foam material, pretty similar to what you're going to find on Adidas shoes right now. Reminds me a lot of the AdiPure insole, or the 11 Pro insole, sorry, but a slightly different foam, of course. Now moving on to the bottom of the shoe, that's where things get a little bit interesting. So you don't necessarily have a one-piece outsole here. You have an external plastic heel counter that's actually stitched to the upper, and then glued to that, you have this little heel piece here, which is really, really interesting. You're going to notice that it does have the FIFA branding right here on the back of the heel. And I believe the reason that's there is because these studs actually had to get approved by FIFA to be worn in game. A lot of people were concerned about this when it initially came out, just thinking that it looked too dangerous, that it would cut people open. And I would tend to agree with them. It looks pretty menacing as far as soft ground studs go. They're bladed as opposed to rounded in shape, and they're just very, very long. These are, according to these numbers, 16 millimeters in the heel, and then it says 12 plus 1. So they're either 12 millimeters or 13 millimeters in the forefoot, which is very, very long. So you have 6 of those, 2 in the back, and then 1 very long kind of just plastic support stud right there in the middle. It's actually molded. That one does not remove whatsoever. And then of course there was a firm ground variation of the shoe as well that featured the pretty classic Predator stud pattern that a lot of you guys are familiar with. The Predator Mania, I believe, was the first Predator to actually feature that stud pattern that stuck around for several Predator models after the fact. So with this particular stud layout, the way that it works is, again, you would slide these on. I'm not even going to remove them, because if you look at the actual screws, they're rusted. So I'm really worried that if I were to actually loosen them and try to pull them out, the screw might snap, and then I'm kind of out of luck, and I just don't want that to happen. So that's why I'm not going to show you guys. But essentially you would remove that screw, and I believe it's pretty long just based on this little diagram that I showed you guys. There's a screw in there, you would remove it, and that'll allow you to actually slide the stud off. Of course, they are removable and interchangeable. Not that you would interchange them with anything else other than this particular stud, but let's say they wore out, you did have the option of actually replacing them with a new set. Again, really, really interesting stud pattern. I'd be curious to see how these would perform on soft ground, because it's just so much different from a standard soft ground layout. I have to say it looks very, very cool. It looks very aggressive, and I'm sure it does perform the part. It's just one of those things that obviously never stuck around, just because I don't think that this system is really foolproof. There's just so much that could go wrong, and I think that in the long run, especially if you are playing on soft, wet, muddy types of surfaces, it's just going to get in this little port here where the screw is. The screw's going to rust, and like I mentioned, you're just going to have issues with the screw snapping, getting stuck, and just people losing studs in general. So it's kind of a little bit of a messy type of system in that you do have parts that can fall off other than just the physical stud itself. So that's why this system didn't stick around, I think, in the long run. And I'm not sure we ever will see a bladed soft ground stud ever again, but it sure was cool on the 2002 Predator Mania. So that's pretty much it as far as the tech specs and just all the little details on this shoe. If I left out a particular detail that I'm sure some of you guys will point out, let me know that down below in the comment section. Again, 2002 is when this shoe came out. I was 9 years old, so I wasn't necessarily around when this was a shoe kind of in its heyday, if you will, but obviously I did have a pair. I have experience with the shoe. It's just kind of me reminiscing on things, I guess, just based on what my experience was with the Predator Mania. Well, I know a lot of you guys who may be a little bit older than me probably have some other cool stories and just cool experiences with this particular shoe, because it is such an iconic boot from Adidas. So that's pretty much it as far as the tech specs, and we're going to move on next to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. In terms of weight, I thought it'd be fun to compare the weight of the 2002 Predator Mania to that of the current 2015 Predator Instinct. So I'm going to weigh both of these shoes for you today in real time. Keep in mind they're both in brand new condition, both the soft ground variation. The Predator Instinct is a 9 US, whereas the Predator Mania is a size 8.5 US, so very similar in size as well. We'll start off with the Predator Instinct, throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 10.95 ounces, right at that 11 ounce mark, the equivalent of 310 grams, which is not necessarily lightweight. So we'll change the units on the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Predator Manias, and you can see that they weigh in at 11.3 ounces. So if you're comparing it to the Predator Instinct, that's a difference of 0.3 ounces, or 320 grams, the equivalent of 10 extra grams of weight. Very, very minimal difference. The two shoes feel very similar to each other, both in hand as well as on feet from a weight standpoint. And I guess if you were to compare the current Predator to a 2002 older model Predator Mania, the only thing that is similar about the two shoes are the rubberized elements and, of course, the weight. Other than that, it's pretty much a pretty big stretch to compare something like the Instinct to the Predator Mania. And at least it's nice to see that Adidas did try to bring back some of that classic Predator feel with the Predator Instinct that they kind of strayed away from, going for more of a lightweight design with the Adi Power and of course the LZ1 and 2. So that's pretty much it as far as the weight of the shoe is concerned. And move on next to a quick on feet so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and just how they feel in general. All right, so here is a look at the Predator Manias on feet. And I have to say, these things feel pretty good 13 years later. I'm actually pretty surprised. The kangaroo leather upper is not quite as soft as it once was, and I honestly would have preferred a 9 US as opposed to an 8.5, but with shoes like this, they're hard to come by, especially in brand new condition, so you gotta take what you can get, and the 8.5 fits me nicely. I think that if I were to actually wear these, the leather would soften up, it would stretch to be a little bit more comfortable than they are right now, because they are on the tighter side in a half size smaller than I would normally wear. But also, given that they're 13 years old and just based on how stiff they feel in certain areas, I'm not sure that these would hold up too well if I actually did decide to wear them now. So probably not going to wear these. It's just going to stay as a collector's piece, which I'm perfectly fine with. But again, when you have these on your feet, you definitely can feel the quality. Obviously, the Predator line is no longer made from leather. It hasn't been for quite some time now, and a lot of people are disappointed in that. They no longer wear the Predator line. I know that the Predator line, along with the Mercurial line, they have very kind of loyal followers, if you will. They really, really like that particular shoe. And when Adidas got away from leather uppers, a lot of people were disappointed, and it's easy to see why. I think that not only with the Predator line, but just leather shoes in general have gone down in quality in comparison to what we had in the era of the Predator Mania, and even a little bit more recent than the Predator Mania as well. But nonetheless, these things feel really good. I think that if you are looking to find a pair as a collector's piece, or even to wear if you're gutsy enough, they do run true to size for those that are wondering. They're kangaroo leather, so they will stretch. Again, condition is just one of those things that you have to be really, really concerned with. A lot of people, they are trying to resell their pairs, whether they're used or new. If they're new, that's ideal. But a lot of people, they'll try to restore them. And They might look really good in the pictures, but they're not necessarily in great wearable condition. So not really something I would recommend buying on eBay to actually wear for yourself. It's really more of a collector's piece at this point. And again, it's a bit of a shame that Adidas doesn't really make shoes like this anymore. But overall, really happy to have them. They're really, really comfortable and they look great on feet. One thing that I did want to mention that now that I'm thinking back, I do remember it about my Predator Manias as well. The laces are extremely long. If I actually remove the little thing here, you guys can see how long and how much unnecessary lace there is here with these Predator Manias once you actually pull the laces tight. So that's a bit of a bummer, but that's kind of what you get with older shoes in general. But that's pretty much it as far as how these things fit and feel and just look on feet. And with that being said, I'll leave it to my final thoughts. Alright guys, that's it for my retro review of the Predator Mania. It's really hard to believe that this shoe originally came out in 2002, 13 years ago. It's been a long time, and soccer cleats have obviously evolved quite a bit since then. This is really a lost breed of soccer cleats, and that's really a bit of a shame. Not only is this one of, if not the very best Predator model ever, I really feel strongly that this is one of the best soccer cleats ever, period. And that really does say something, considering that this is 13 years old and it's still relevant, and it's still one of those shoes that so many people remember and wish they could have again. So if you guys are interested in looking at some more detailed images of this particular shoe that I took myself, you can check out the review page on my website where you will find those images. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. If you guys are interested in checking out some more retro reviews that I have on the channel, I'll leave some annotations on screen. You can go ahead and check those out if you do want to just watch more retro review content. Again, if you guys have any questions regarding the Predator Mania at all, or even suggestions for other retro reviews you'd perhaps like to see, leave those down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear, as well as some old stuff, of course. All my social media information is down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.